Hi everyone and welcome back to Tennis Time. So very soon it's going to be crunch time at the French Open. We're approaching the semi-final stages. The first semi-final is already set. Stefanos Tsitsipas is going to play Alexander Zverev in that semi-final. So let's have a look at that semi-final. I want to preview that. And I want to talk about the route of each of these two players, how they got there. As soon as the quarterfinals are also played, Schwartzman, Nadal and Berrettini Djokovic, when we have the semi-final lineup set up. Supposedly it's going to be Djokovic against Nadal. I'm going to preview that semi-final as well. Okay, so let's have a look here at the last 4 French Open semi-finals first. I thought this was very interesting. So if you look at 2017, 18, 19 and 20, you will notice that with the exception of 2019, we had a 5-set semi, a thrilling one, and we had a blowout match, sort of. A 3-setter, a straight sets win. So 2018 was the difference, where Nadal has beaten Del Potro in 3 straight sets relatively quickly, and Thiem has also beaten relatively convincingly Marco Cecchinato also in straight sets. But I was wondering, if we have this lineup and we're going to have probably Nadal, Djokovic and Tsitsipas, Zverev, we might have an anomalous year in the sense that it may not be like 2020, 2019 or 17. We're going to have competitive matches in both of these semi-finals. So I think that Nadal Djokovic, I really don't think it's going to be straight sets this time. I really think Djokovic is going to take off at least one set, but I'm not gonna go into that one because that's not actually sure that it's going to happen, although there is a high probability for it. Good, let's have a look at Tsitsipas's road to the semis. So he played good, very good first 5 matches. He's dropped only 1 set in a night match against Isner in the 3rd round. In the first, he's gone through Chardy. He had a tough first set. Chardy, French player, really wanting to do well there. He had 1 win over Tsitsipas from the past. He was 1-2 down in the head-to-head, but Tsitsipas handled that really tight first set well. The second and the third were quicker. Spent just 2 hours and 4 minutes on court. The second was a little bit longer. It was a competitive match, although in neither of the sets has Martinez managed to win more than 4 games. So 2 hours 27, 3, 4 and 3. The 3rd round was, I think, maybe the toughest one. There is a competition between the 3rd round match and the quarter, what he had against Medvedev. So both were relatively tough, I would say. Isner played a flawless first set. He's broken Tsitsipas at 5-all. He's taken that first set. He's done well in the 3rd as well. They managed to get to a tiebreak. We all know how good of a tiebreak player Isner can be. But Tsitsipas was really supreme in that 3rd set tiebreak, and the 3rd set he's won, the 4th set of the match. Isner couldn't really keep up the pace anymore with Tsitsipas. The match against Carreño Busta was also super convincing. Tsitsipas was dominating throughout the first 2 sets, 6-3 and 6-2. In the 3rd, Carreño Busta, being 2 sets to love down, I think he woke up a little bit. He started to swing more freely. He was up a break, but in the end, Tsitsipas got his act together and has come back. Did not want it to let it go to a 4th set. And last night we had the Tsitsipas-Medvedev encounter. Tsitsipas had a strong losing record against Medvedev. It was 6-1, I think, in Medvedev's favor. Medvedev has won on clay before against Tsitsipas, so if we have looked at Tsitsipas' this year's clay court results, we obviously have seen that he's the superior player and he's the favorite to win. Although Medvedev has done really well at this French Open, making it to the quarters is a big deal. He was playing well, he was fresh. So it was maybe a little bit tough to pick who is going to be the winner, but if you've seen the match, you have to give Tsitsipas immense credit. He played really well. Even though Medvedev has made some tactical changes in that second set, starting with the second set, because obviously the tactics in the first set were not working. He got broken. He couldn't break back. Lost the set 6-3. In the second set, Tsitsipas was 4-2 up actually, and Medvedev has made some changes. He started to go to the net more. He started to hit more drop shots, which he's timed really well. When Tsitsipas was playing his drop shots, Medvedev was really quick to the ball. Won the majority of those rallies and of those points. But nonetheless, when it got to the tiebreak, Tsitsipas profited of one of Medvedev's errors. It was actually the first point of that second set tiebreak. Medvedev made a grave error as gifted the mini break right away to Tsitsipas. And toward the end of the tiebreak, Tsitsipas played a wonderful point on Medvedev's return, finished it with a forehand winner, and did not lose his serve once in that tiebreak, so it was a crucial point. The third set, that was a little bit tricky because Medvedev was the one who was up a break. Tsitsipas has broken back in time, actually at 6-5, Medvedev down 5-6. He was serving to make it to get to a tiebreak. It was 40 love up, and that's where he lost that game and the match. When he went break point down, which was match point, he set an underarm serve. It was a long underarm serve. Tsitsipas spotted it early. Medvedev was approaching the net right after he hit the underarm serve. It was a relatively easy passing shot for Tsitsipas with a backhand down the line, and that's how he won the match, and that's how he finished the match. So if we look at the length of all these matches, all the 5 matches he's played, the longest one was against Isner. He's played 2 hours and 38. All the others were below that, just about a 2 hour and a 2 hour little bit. So if we add it up all together, he spent 11 hours and 35 minutes in these matches. I think that's a very good result. Just the one set dropped, as I said. Pretty sovereign, supreme in his first 5 matches. Moving over to Zverev. So Zverev's route is not that dissimilar to Tsitsipas's, although in the first round he was down to Oscar Otte, a qualifier who's played 3 previous matches. He was somehow used to more to the conditions, to the environment. Zverev asked in his press conference after his quarterfinal match what he thought of his route. He said, normally he has a more difficult time getting into the tournaments, or he's maybe not playing his very best tennis from the first round on, and Otte was playing well. That's all true. When it was really crunch time for Zverev, he managed to come back, and I think just from a physical standpoint, he was a lot stronger than Otte in the end. And even though it was a 5-set match, it was 2 hours and 49 minutes, so it was just 11 minutes longer than Tsitsipas's longest match, which he had against Isner. So even though it was a long one, Oscar Otte was maybe too tired at the end. He didn't have the physical resources anymore to compete with Zverev. Zverev bageled him in that 5th set. But since then, Zverev has not dropped one set. He's played 3 more tiebreakers. Those were the closest sets. against Stafiulin in the second round, 2 tiebreakers against Cheddar, one more. No, sorry, that was a 5-7 set actually. So not even a tiebreak anymore after the second round. The Nishikori encounter was anticipated, highly anticipated. We thought, or at least I thought, Nishikori could make it a closer match. The first set was more tight. Zverev started well, Nishikori's broken back. From love 3 down, he went back to 3-all. But then in the end, when it was the deciding phase of that first set, Zverev played better. And Nishikori was no real competition for him, not in the second nor in the third set. And a similar story with Fokina. The first set was not a good set, not a great set from either player. Both waiting a lot of errors. Was a little bit of frustration from Zverev's part because some line calls, or one line call in particular, went against him. He couldn't really know, he couldn't really deal with it. He was really broken up about it. So there were a lot of breaks in that first set, back and forth. In the end, Zverev was the stronger player at the end of that first set. Davidovich Fokina wasn't really there in the second and the third. You could see if you looked at him that he wasn't comfortable. He looked tired, he looked exhausted, he looked unsure of himself, he looked frustrated, he didn't know exactly what to do, how to approach the game plan. So that was a little bit unfortunate. Davidovich Fokina had his probably the best tournament of his life, reaching the quarters of a slam. He's beaten Casper Ruud in the third round. That was a 5-set thriller. I think the way he performed today, his previous 2 matches had something to do with it. Physically, he was not 100% recovered, or the physical mental strength, it just wasn't really there. So that about the route of Zverev. So both had really convincing performances. Zverev, with the exception of the first match, has not dropped 1 set anymore. So I think both players are in really good form, really good shape. Both like to play on the high stage, to play at the French Open. When I was looking at the head-to-head, here you can also have a look. I don't know, I'm really having a hard time to decide to say who the favorite for this semi-final is. So overall, Tsitsipas leads Zverev in head-to-head meetings 5-2. They've met just the once on clay in Madrid. I think that's Zverev's most favored clay court tournament, Madrid. Zverev has won there twice. And in 2019, when they've met, Tsitsipas won in 3 sets. Relatively convincing 6-2 third set for Tsitsipas. So if that's any indication, then you might say, or you might want to say, well, maybe even on Zverev's strongest clay court tournament, Tsitsipas came out on top. And overall, the 5-2 lead seems relatively convincing. And given the fact that 2018 was the first year when Tsitsipas started to compete on a regular basis on the tour, and he already had, after 2018, a 1-1 record against Zverev, that's a little bit surprising, I would say. So it seems that the overall confrontation, Tsitsipas is something over Zverev. So he seems to be more comfortable with that matchup to play against Zverev. Although, in their last head-to-head, in their last meeting in Acapulco on hard court this year, that was late February, early March, Zverev played better, has played a good final, and Tsitsipas is maybe not on the top of his game as he seems to be now during this clay court season and the French Open. So a 5-2 head-to-head is not really conclusive to me. I think either player can actually win this semi-final, but if somebody would really make me pick one player, I think I would still go with Tsitsipas. I don't think it's going to be a straight set match. I think it's going to be 4 or 5 sets, at least 4, but maybe even 5. Both are very competitive, both want to be in their first French Open final. It would be for Tsitsipas his first Grand Slam final, for Zverev it would be his second because he's made the last year's US Open final. So maybe Zverev has a little bit of an edge on the fact that he knows he's won best of 5 Grand Slam semi-final in the past. Actually, at the US Open where he has made a final, he's come back from 2 sets to love down against Pablo Carreño Busta, and I think that's a confidence boosting performance or result in a Grand Slam semi-final. So he knows he can do it. He will have, on the other hand, a much tougher opponent in Stefanos Tsitsipas, I think. So as I said, bottom line, if I would have to pick one of these guys, I think Tsitsipas is the one who is going to win Friday's semi-final. Okay, let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who is going to be the one who gets to the final? And as I said, as the second semi-final contenders are known, I'm going to make another video and a preview of the other semi-final. Thanks for watching, have a good day ahead, and enjoy the French Open.